Hey, everybody. We are back at the Built for the Storm studios. Jeremy Afeld's Free Roam Brewery, graciously allowing us to take over his studio for the Real Talk episodes. And right here in beautiful Boerne, Texas, by the way. We got an incredible episode to share with you today. We are joined by Cooper Kennell, a young man with a powerful message and still unfolding, actually. And so we're excited to talk to him about that. From leadership at the Bass Club of Champions here in Boerne to his endeavors in collegiate fishing and how he got there. So stick around. We're going to have a great time. Welcome to Real Talk. I'm Jeff Cook.
Faith Angler Network, Real Talk, where faith, fishing, and friendships come together.
All right. You made it.
Yes, sir.
You're in town. Glad that you're finally here. I'm really excited about today because we're going to get to talk a little bit more than just high school fishing. You get to share with us a little bit about how the journey from high school to college, but also just how God works in your life to make this all come together. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up in Boerne, Texas my whole life. Born and raised here. Started fishing really young and just fell in love with it immediately, fell in love with outdoors and, just trying to live the dream.
All right. So, how did you get introduced into fishing?
Yeah, so my dad introduced me when I was, just able to walk, like really young. Great opportunity to have with him. And then bass fishing, I got introduced by my cousin when I was probably about 8th grade, maybe. And I think that's what really fueled my bass fishing desires. So,
Wow.
yes,
How
sir.
cool is that? How cool is that? So when did you realize fishing could be more than just a hobby?
For me, I always enjoyed bass fishing and tournament fishing. But I think when I won AOY for Faith Anglers Network, that was like a moment where it's like, wow, I really have to stay on top of my game the whole year, and I can't, like, you can't let off the brakes. Essentially, like, you just got to go, and if you can't, you really can't have that bad of a finish, to win AOY. So that's when I realized, hey, maybe I can do this, and maybe I should try to start getting better and see how far I can let this journey take me.
Yeah, that was a great moment, and God, it just seems like it's been a while.
Oh, it has, yes,
And
sir.
yeah, how exciting! And I love hearing about how things get evolved, and really excited to where your journey is coming forward. So I want to talk about your leadership because you were you didn't just fish with the Basketball of the Champions. You are a leader there. Tell us about your leadership and that journey with the Basketball of the Champions.
Yeah, so I started my freshman year of high school, fished all the way to my senior year with them, and I was treasurer, vice president, and then president my senior year. So really enjoyed trying to be involved with the club and just do more than just show up to the tournaments. Like, for community events, just lead those and kind of just get higher up in the club and talk to more kids, try to inspire as many people as I can, who are younger and maybe first year joining the club, talk to as many and basically grow the club as big as we could get it.
What is the process like to be in a vice president or treasury board? Is it you nominated and voted on?
So for us, it was I felt like a little different. I can't remember, to be honest, but we fished really well, and also we were involved in so much, it wasn't that hard to get, like, we didn't have to compete for spots. Really, it was Eli and I kind of got up, and it kind of worked out perfectly because, Rivington and some of those other people were just a little younger. So it worked to where they can work just below us. And we didn't really have to compete for too many things, but there's definitely a process that went into it. Just
Maybe
really
just like a natural leadership, but you set the groundwork for the club to start building that process. So like you were saying, Remington and Timothy were able to, you built something.
Yes, sir.
Basically.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about Basketball Champions, you were there from its beginning, right?
Yeah, so they started 1 year before I actually fished for Boerne Bass Club, which is another bass
I remember that because
they-
they said we're going to split.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny story too. I can tell that real quick if you like.
Wow, I got nothing to do. You guys just stick around for this.
So first year, I didn't weigh a single fish the whole year until the state tournament. And we didn't even realize we qualified. We had a lot of good opportunities where just fish were coming off. There was one day we had 14 fish that were 13 inches or 13 and 3/4 inches. They were just not there. And it was just not meant to be. Jumped a 3-pounder off in that tournament and just kind of had my hopes down. But my parents were always wondering, they're like, well, you still want to do this? You know, you're kind of down. I'm obsessed with it. Even though I'm not doing well, I am obsessed with it. And state tournament, we ended up getting our own other boat by then, and it was an older Nitro. Beat the crap. It had basically holes inside of the boat. Motor would start sometimes, and
Flight seal to the rest.
oh yeah, it was a great boat to learn on. I mean, I didn't feel bad about putting. I like fishing shallow, so
Okay.
I could put it up there, and I didn't have to worry about scratching anything on that one. But yeah, no, it was state tournament. I think we got fifth in that tournament.
Huh?
And that was like because we first started. Oh, that was my first time going out on my own and like realizing like what practice is and how essential that is to tournaments. Because beforehand, we didn't really do any of that. So once I kind of started figuring out how to fish on my own and how to, you know, spend more time in a boat, it just kind of all started falling in.
Wow.
Yeah, sir.
So Bass Public Champions formed your second year,
Yes, sir.
and it just has evolved since then. I mean,
Right.
both Bernie,
They're
both
both
of these are
amazing.
blowing up
Yeah.
right now, and it's awesome
Mhm.
as well. So as a leader in the Bass Club of Champions, what how did you feel in your role as far as what being a leader meant in high school to younger or your peers in the same age? How did you navigate that?
Yeah, so I've kind of always grown up with like, you know, you look up to someone, and I've always wanted to be that person for younger people. So, you know, I kind of just knew I had to take charge and kind of be that person for a lot of these younger kids who are just, you know, maybe they don't know anyone at the club yet. They just joined or they moved from a different state or whatever that may be, or they're just wanting to get into fishing because they love the outdoors and, you know, they find bass fishing interesting because it's pretty fun sport.
Tumbling
So
sport.
yes, oh, it's very humbling sometimes. But I kind of just always wanted to, you know, step up. Like that's why I became a leader for a lot of my high school stuff. Is I wanted to be that kid for maybe those middle schoolers who, you know, they see that and that's what they want to do. And that's the only way the clubs keep growing and keep continuing on is if, you know, you inspire the younger kids to want to step up to do the same thing and hopefully strive for better.
Yeah. Did you do anything outside of fishing? Were you in sports? Were you academically engaged? Or tell us a little bit more about you in that regard.
So I've always grown up just outdoors. So
Okay.
fishing, hunting, doing whatever we can. And once we started fishing, it was pretty much not over for hunting, but we kind of threw it out the window a little because we were gone every chance we got. And I was lucky enough, my dad took me out every time I wanted to, and he inspired my whole obsession now.
Yeah, so you didn't play baseball, basketball, or anything?
No, not really.
I mean, I love that
I
because
played tennis, but I was really wanting to quit that my freshman year of high school. I was pretty good at it, but I didn't have the strive to do it. My mom wanted me to do something, and I think also once she realized how much fishing meant to me, she was like, I understand.
yeah, I love that because I say this so much when I'm trying to share to people that not everybody plays football, baseball, and basketball or those types of sports, but everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to fit in. We're created to connect and fit in. And what we believe FAN does is enable people young at, at a young age, at an influential age, find that space to connect. Because like I say, you may not have done that, but you had a passion for the outdoors, and now you're part of a program where you're able to excel not only your fishing skills but your leadership skills.
Yes, sir.
And that takes you into life outside of school, outside of college. And when you said that, it just reminded me kind of really why we do what we do, and I appreciate you saying that. So and I'm going to talk a little bit about the collegiate part. And I know you were in the Bassmaster Combine, but one of the things that we were talking about is that you were one of the first students to sign with an NCAA bass fishing program.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was something I found out through the Bassmaster Combine, which I'm sure we'll touch up on later. But basically, I was the first in the Boerne ISD school district to sign with a team through the NCAA for fishing, and that's something that I have older adults come up all the time. Wait, you can fish in college,
Right?
And if you're on a team in college, that's I wish we had that. When we were in school,
We're working on that name and likeness contract right now.
But yeah, it was kind of a cool opportunity, and it showed, me I was kind of interested in going to college, didn't know what I really wanted to do, but that was that's what I want to do. I want to fish.
Sealed the deal.
Yeah, that sealed the deal for me. It was my drive to want to do good in college and stay on top of my grades. And, it kind of just was a path that, I love bass fishing, and I got the opportunity like that. And it was just, a lot of the times, if you're not really there's two ways to get in the bass fishing industry if you want to go pro. Either you got to know the right people and be a really good fisherman, or you got to go through college so you can have those extra couple of years to compete against people and just continue to get better. So I figured that was the best way for me.
Well, and I think that's so cool because I know a lot of people out there trying to go, what is this Bassmaster Combine? And, how did it impact, and what did it do? And so, after high school, you chose to attend East Texas Baptist University.
Yes, sir.
By way of a acceptance, right? So tell us how that went.
So like the Combine deal?
So
or
I guess what I want to know is, and maybe we'll do it this way.
Yeah.
You went to the Combine, you really didn't know what was going to happen.
Yes, sir.
And then that Combine led you to a college fishing program. So let's just start with the Bassmaster Combine.
Yeah. All right. So basically I got the invitation from Rick Harris. He runs Pro Bass Camp and, a lot of Amistad stuff, but, he's now expanding out to a couple of different lakes because the lake's low. And he basically reached out to me and I think two other dudes. And he's like, hey, I want to send you all to this Combine deal. Never heard of it. And I was like,
right.
Well, that sounds cool. Started there doing a little bit of research. I'm like, yes, that sounds amazing. It's awesome. So we ended up going to that. That was in Alabama, at Wheeler, Alabama. And, yeah, it was a great experience. You got to meet.
How long was the Combine?
It was a 2-day process. I think we went up there for 3 days total. But for me, I got to meet a lot of great schools. And I still keep in touch with a ton of the coaches from other schools like Murray State, which is a 2-year JUCO college. And that's the best, in my opinion. If you just want to fish and you still not 100% sure what you want to do, he runs an amazing program. I have a ton of buddies who went through there. And I still keep in, he called me multiple times last year. We're fishing, and he's always reaching out. Yeah, he's
following you.
Hey, how are you been doing? How's fishing? When's your next tournament? And just keeping up. And there's not many people like that nowadays.
So most people might know kind of what a combine is in football. What is a combine like in fishing? Day one, what happens?
So day one, it's really, you pick out a couple of them that you researched and you may be interested in, some of the schools, and you go talk to them. I think I may be wrong. 25 schools, I think, is what it is across the country, maybe more. And there's more schools that have bass fishing teams, but that's just what was there.
These are the heavy recruiting teams.
Yes.
Looking for the best of the best.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I went through and, I wanted to talk to, I've talked to Murray State because that was one I wanted to talk to. I think we also talked to Auburn. Some of these big name schools that had people representing them. LSUS was there. ETBU was one of the ones because I knew I loved East. I wasn't that great of a fisherman in East Texas at first, but I just knew that's where a lot of the best fishing is, and that's where you really, build on your fishing skills. So
I will tell you, if you look at some of the older pros and even the international pros, where do they come when they want to get good at fishing? Gary Klein moved from California to go live in East Texas. I mean, I know there's several that did that. A lot of the international Japanese will go live at
Toledo Bend, Rayburn,
and
Ford.
yeah,
Those are amazing fisheries.
it is the place to hone in your skills.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why not East Texas?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was basically, I ended up handing my resume to about, I think 10 different schools that day, just ones I were interested in. And even if I wasn't interested, I want to talk to as many people as I can, build relationships with these coaches. And I mean, cause you don't know, I mean, you don't really know what you want to, you actually talk to these coaches and these, schools, see what they provide. Some of them, hey, they pay for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them they pay part way or they don't pay, but there's benefits to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was cool to be able to talk to all these different schools.
So that was day one.
Yes. Day two was the skills. Now, I talked to a few people. They didn't really care that much about the whole skills deal. It's more about as long as you're not dumb, the nicest way possible. If you can run a trolling motor and
back in the trailer.
Well, not even back in the trailer. If you can run a trolling motor and flip and actually cast and stuff, that's all they're really looking for. So I was more, I think, worried going in. I had to do really good. I practiced nights, because one of the contests is how quick can you tie a leader to leader knot? And so I practiced. I was like, well, shoot, I got to tie the quickest leader to the leader knot. And it had to hold whatever, pull X amount. So I'm sitting there practicing at home for hours and hours on end, trying to make the perfect leader knot. And, which also came back to help me because now tournament time, I could knock one out in about 15, 20 seconds. So it helps a lot now. But yeah, and then they have longest casts. I mean, it's more just for fun. It's more the experience for being there is that second day. But yeah, it's a really great opportunity. If you're a young angler who, say, a junior in high school, or even a sophomore in high school, just to be able to start looking into it, it's a great opportunity to meet. I mean, like I said, there's 25 schools there. You can meet any of them.
So, and I love hearing this. So what you're saying is that they're looking at an individual and they're not so much skill, although they need skill because you're going to be fishing and representing them. But are they really looking at how well you're going to represent and how you speak and how you carry yourself and how you present yourself to them? Are they looking at that?
Yeah, because I mean, you got to think about it. They don't want to have someone come in who's a liability. So, even if you're a really good fisherman, but you don't really speak well, and you're just kind of held back, you don't want to get yourself out there, they're less likely to want you because you may not want to do better for yourself. But if you're going in and you're wanting to,
I love that because I've said this so much, and even in my small little experience was I didn't have to win all the tournaments. I had all the skills, but I had to be able to represent the industry well. And I think it's important for those that want to aspire to go to the next level and grow. And you can get a lot farther by character, by being able to represent yourself, represent the industry. And that goes a lot farther. People will navigate toward you more than, if you had 3 top 5 finishes, but you really haven't taken the time to learn how to speak. And we do this a lot at fan events. I make it a habit of putting a microphone and saying, how was your day on a water day? And I look and say, are they looking at the crowd? Are they doing the things? Because those are signals that show, okay, and look, I know super awesome bass fishermen that can win tournaments all day long. And that's important too. That is another way to get there.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking for that balance, it is skill, but it's also how am I representing myself and the brand that I'm talking to? So I love that they do that. And I want to do a little more digging on that, the Bassmaster Combine, because I think a lot more people should do it.
Yes, it's something I feel like that's not talked about as much as it needs to in Texas. I mean, I think other states know more about it, but Texas it feels like it's a really big bass fishing state. But honestly, if you start looking at some of these other ones, they know a lot more about, how to go to that college level. than we do, and that may also be because Texas is so big too. That also probably doesn't help.
Do you think there's also we're going to go to your story, and maybe I'll ask this question because you went from East Texas,
Yes, sir.
and then you now are fishing with
Texas A&M University.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now that's a major program, major school. They probably weren't at the combine.
No, sir.
Okay, so this is where I was going with that.
Okay.
That's a big school, big recognition. I'm sure it's highly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They may not need to be at the combine. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can comment, give me your thoughts. I'm not just trying to understand it, but there's different schools that go.
Mm-hmm.
You said, I think this is where I want to be. East Texas,
Mm-hmm.
mecca bass fishing in Texas. Now I can go join A&M fishing team.
That's kind of actually what happened to me. And I realized like, I kind of wanted to be more in College Station, you know, be able to hang out with my buddies and stuff like that while also being able to bass fish versus like when I was at East Texas Baptist. Now, if you love fishing and it's awesome,
Yeah,
I fish 5 days a week.
Drive for to get it.
I fish 5 days a week, 15 minutes from Caddo and another little secret lake over there that's really fun. It has a lot of good ones. Oh yeah, it's crystal clear water in East
Which
Texas.
lake?
Brady Brandt. There you go.
Fair enough. He said it, y'all.
Yeah, it's a
Tear it up now.
Yeah, but it's really cool, and I could be at Pines really quick, like under 20, 25 minutes. I can be at Lake of the Pines, and so I fish 5 days a week, and I honed in on my fishing skills.
And even those lakes are uniquely different. A lot of people think of shallow, muddy, stumpy, but there's variations in those lakes too, and I love that.
Yeah, if I could go one day to where I'm catching them in half foot of water with their backs out of the water, and then the very next week they're 20 foot offshore, and lake came down. You're dragging shell beds and you're fishing, deep stuff, and it's kind of amazing that it's just you can really do what you want and learn what you want. I can go catch them. Like that's where I learned how to start using live scope and utilizing that. I can just go catch fish, and there's multiple days. Like I remember one time at Pines, like that's just a lake. If you want to go catch bass, there's bass. I had 144 fish in 5 hours by myself.
Wow.
After class, and it was just, every cast on a chatterbait, and I was just like, you know what, a chatterbait's not my strong suit. I want to start learning it, and now I can say I've learned it pretty easily. It's you switch up one retrieve and you realize how much it matters.
It makes a difference.
There's so many fish there that you just get to learn.
And the other thing you're talking about lake levels, because when those lakes drop a foot or 2 feet, it's a dramatic lick. Yeah. And where we out here in Central Texas, the Highland Lakes are 10, 15 feet. And there a 2 foot drop is significant and changes the fish landscape
for sure. So, but East Texas is definitely like, I
want to go.
It's a fun area to be in, and that for me that was really the driving factor of going to East Texas Baptist versus like you see Montevallo. They're a well-known school. I think they've got 140 college anglers on their team or something like that, and they're just growing each year. So that was kind of why I chose that university versus
I love that
some of these other ones.
That makes sense. So now you're at A&M. You're having some success there.
Yes,
I love watching you on Facebook because you do a good job at documenting your day and kind of sharing your experience. So I love that. They're not all great days.
Oh yeah.
I love that you're brutally honest. You should go check them out. Just Cooper Kennell.
Yeah, Cooper Kennell, and then on Instagram, I think it's Cooper Kennell Fishing. So
it's real fun to watch. So you need to go do that. So currently, this is your first season
at A&M.
At A&M,
yes, sir.
You're now at current standings in what, third place?
We're actually sitting in second right now for Texas Bass Nation. So that's out of the whole state of Texas with all the colleges who are fishing. So. Okay. We got 2 more tournaments left this year, and we're really trying to win AOY. So
of course.
Right.
And who's your partner?
Eli Christian.
All right, I knew that, and I wanted to get into there. So Eli, also Bass Club of Champions.
Yes, sir.
You guys fish together
freshman year all the way out.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You guys have been fishing together for a long time.
Oh yeah.
You're young, but a long time.
Yeah.
So how does that, I mean, let's walk through that. How fun
I can walk you through the first day he got on the boat and how that day, like how it's gone now, if you want that.
Well, is it a good story?
Oh, it's pretty funny. So, yeah.
Then I want to hear.
All right. So first day, I think Eli hopped on the boat. I knew he bass fished and he did a lot of pond fishing, and that's still when I was young and I was learning, he was learning, and we're like, well, let's fish together. We were in the same class, like course. And when we hop on the boat, I think he had 1 or 2 rods on the deck. He could throw a bait caster, he could do everything, but he had a spinning rod with probably 40 or 50-pound braid on it and a spinner bait on Canyon Lake. And when Canyon Lake was really clear,
Right.
and it was one of those deals to where like we joked around and we had fun.
That's a secret technique that don't very many people know about. I ain't keep that on the
yeah. And he was a big saltwater fisherman, but we have grown so much. Like he's kind of grown to fish how I like to fish, and also it works out perfect.
You guys learned how to balance each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, great partnership, and he trusts a lot of my instincts, which for me, like I've kind of learned to where I like to fish how I like to fish, and he's the best at if I'm going down a bank throwing a top water, he's going to throw a worm or throw something else, or say I'm cranking down the bank and he loves a buzz bait. He's going to throw that buzz bait out, and he's probably going to whoop my butt doing it. Yeah, that works out perfectly.
I'm gonna get Eli on the channel.
Oh yeah,
I think that would be fun. So I'd love to talk more about that. Anything else you want to talk about Eli? I mean, how would you describe Eli in his fishing technique, or just him as a fisherman?
I mean, he's just essential to a lot of the stuff I do. I mean, he keeps the spirits high on the boat, which is a really good thing. Like once you find a partner who you can have fun with on the boat, even if like you want to look for someone who you're going to have a good time with. If you're not having a good time, it's not going to be as great of an experience. So Eli, for me, I mean, we started off, we had a great time off the beginning, and that kind of helped us, tone in our fishing skills. Like we wanted to get better. So he worked with me. We went practice all the time together, and we fished together. And he's more of a slower fisherman. He loves dragging, which works out perfect because a lot of the times I'll say, "Hey, Eli, you look for the big one. I'll look for catching a limit," and he'll put on a 10-inch old monster and sit on the back of the boat with a smile on his face, and he'll start dragging, and then I'll sit there and with a 6-inch worm and just try to pick up a couple, So it works out perfectly.
I love that because that's a neat balance. Because it's either you're both on the deck and you're just cranking and winding,
yes,
right, or you're kind of augmenting each other's to figure out what's going to work.
Yes.
So sometimes you might find something that works, and then you both can go attack it if you're trying to get a limit quick or get to that culling.
Yeah, and he's also good. He'll keep me on my like. He trusts what I do, but also at the same time, he's like, "Hey, I think it's time to get out," and we work well together. Where it's like instead of me getting mad about that, I'm like, "Yeah, let me fish to that little stump over there, and we'll go run out. Yeah, where do you want to go?" And it kind of works out perfectly to where we're not arguing on the boat. We're kind of working together. And that's the most important thing in a partner, I think, is being able to work together, have fun, and also be able to catch fish. Of course, that helps.
Yeah, catching fish is the goal.
Yeah.
But learning, constantly learning is key too. And I think even when I've had the opportunity to talk to, the elite pros and bassmen, I think of, Clark, because I've known Clark and talked to him. He's just like, he learns everything. To him is not, I miss a fish. Well, I'm not frustrated. I learned. What did I do right? What did I do wrong?
Sometimes there's nothing you can do right.
Right. But he puts it up here and he just keeps on grinding.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a big learning experience. And as long as like my goals nowadays when I'm out on the water, even like I said, when I was fishing 5 days a week last year, I was expensive, but it was like what can I learn today? Let me, like my cousin told me to do this a long time ago, and he was the most correct person. If you suck at a bait and you're like, I want to learn, get that one rod out, lock the locker, and don't touch a rod the rest of the day. Throw that bait until your arm falls off. And that was a real deal for me because I didn't like life skill fishing, but I knew I had to get good at it. Right. And it was kind of one of those deals where it's like, put everything else away, get 1 or 2 live scope baits out, and just learn how to throw them.
Yeah. I had the same, I don't want to say I hated, but jig fishing wasn't my strength, and I struggled with it, and I struggled with it. And what I did in two different approaches, and maybe this works for you, I don't know, but I was in a bass club,
Mhm.
and I purposely spent time with anglers that jig fish, and particularly Gene French. God bless him. He jig fished all the time, so I made sure I was on his boat when we fished club tournaments because we're going to jig fish today.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, as I kind of got into a different level and started learning how to fish deeper, heavier jigs, I just tie on a bunch of jigs and that's all I did.
Mhm.
And I learned how to now I love to fish a jig. I
Okay.
love to fish a 3/4 ounce football jig, almost to the point where it's probably not the bait to throw today, but I have so much confidence in it. But like you said, lock it down, just go do it because it's a confidence game.
Yeah. And maybe don't do that in the tournament. I'm not saying you should
Oh
go
no,
do that.
probably don't want to do it in a turn. You want to kind of master it before. That's not the time to go learn how to.
But if you're in high school and you say one of your strong suit is, or your weak suit is topwater fishing, you're bad at topwater fishing. Well, maybe don't go out in the winter and go topwater fishing, but go out when they're biting the topwater and just throw it, and they'll eat, or in Texas, they'll eat it all day long.
Sure.
Like that's one thing I learned, and I've had actually some of my bigger bites on the topwater have been 12, 1 o'clock, 2, like,
Oh yeah.
There ain't even fan tournaments.
Fish do not follow the same rules we follow.
No,
They want to eat and reproduce and stay alive.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
We totally try to figure that out. It's not easy.
Oh,
I want to talk a little bit about you finished 15th at Lake Ray Roberts. You mentioned that to be one of the toughest events you fished. So tell us about it. What did it take to get bites, and how did that? I mean, because we can always talk about the great days. Look at me. But let's be real. Yeah, it's hard out there. You got tough days. Is that a tough day?
Yeah, it was. So basically, let me just restart. I've never fished that lake before. So we went to go practice for that event, and I think the Wednesday before, because we can practice all throughout the week for college tournaments. Well, I usually don't go the whole week, but I like 2 or 3 days of practice, which is a lot, and you get to learn a lot on a lake you've never fished.
Mhm.
So I think practice day, just fishing, we were flipping trees and just trying to figure out the lake. Didn't really know what to do. I don't even think we had a bite at 11 o'clock. We knew it was fishing tougher, but we had 16 pounds that day with like a 6-pounder, not shaking them off. Like we weren't swinging on everything, and we were just kind of like get a bite, leave, and we could see them. So we kind of knew what we wanted to do before going into that tournament, and so we didn't practice as much of a backup plan. We just kind of ran stuff, and like we knew there were some good fish in certain areas, and knew okay, those fish aren't going to move too far. So we kind of replicated that the rest of practice, and we going into the tournament. I had my 25-pound test rod on the deck to go flip, and I had a couple other things, and it was just kind of like, okay, well, when we pull up, we know they're probably not going to be in the trees right away, but let's just go fishing. And ended up, I think we didn't have a bite till 12 o'clock, and we knew it was tough because when I went to go look for all those fish, they were gone.
Oh.
They were not suspending that day at all, and no matter what we could do. So we went back to where we started, and that's where Eli kind of came in handy. He picked up my Nico rig that I was throwing around trying to find some other fish, and he was we went to the back of pond dam. It was a really cold morning. Like basically we got a ton of rain and then it got cold and those fish shut off.
Yeah.
And so he was just dragging, and we were in the back of a pond dam, like 3 feet of water, like behind the pond dam, and seeing how far back we can go. And he ended up catching one of our fish. And after that, we just he picked up a chatterbait, had another one boil on it that was really big that straightened out the little split ring. And we were kind of realizing like, oh, we just need to go fishing. So we ended up with like 10 pounds that tournament on our fish. And I think we had a couple that would have helped for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just how it went. I mean, you had to grind though. I mean, it was a lot of the times what we do, and I learned this a lot last year, is look, sometimes you just need to go get bites, and putting your head down instead of getting frustrated, put the troll motor on high and just go fish. Like fish, throw at everything that looks right. Go go fishing. That's the best way to put it. So Yeah, it was an interesting tournament. I think only 14 pounds won that tournament, which I had a buddy catch like 30 in practice, and he shook off. He got 30 while looking at the school and like, okay, I caught a 7 out of that school. I'm not catching any of those other fish. He sent me a video. There's 30 fish in that school, and
Wow.
he's like, I left him alone, and that's how tough it was. Those fish
Wow.
just were not there. They all disappeared. So sometimes there's just tournaments, and we have that. I mean, it happens a lot. You have an amazing practice the weekend before, but you
Really?
kind of just got to learn. Hey, once you realize they're not there, don't force it. Just go have fun and make what you can out of the day. So
Yeah, you got to adapt.
oh
You gotta
yeah,
take
for
the
sure.
moments and adapt. So you left Ray Roberts and then you went to Rayburn,
Yes, sir.
and a little different outcome, right?
Yes, sir. So at Rayburn, we ended up getting third place, which is a great accomplishment. When got home with some money, that was pretty nice as well. But yeah, it was kind of cool because it was the total change up. Rayburn in practice, you can go catch 60 fish, with your eyes closed. Like they're just, and a lot of those fish are, live scope fish, but you pull up anywhere and you drop the troll motor and there's bass everywhere. The problem is getting them over 2 pounds. So they cut off at that. They're that 1.5 to 2.25 pound mark, but you have to go find big ones. So we pulled up on one spot, and it was a creek channel bend, and I think I broke one big one off on a jig and had some other bites on a 7-inch minnow. And they're like, okay, well, there's some fish here, and I think I caught one 4-pounder or something like that, but that was in a foot of water, and I still saw him up there. Threw up there, and basically my bait probably hit the bottom. He did not care. Yeah, but we found that spot and ended up tournament day, had a ton of people pull up on us, and we just kind of stayed in that little area and we never saw like half the fish we caught, like our good ones. We never saw them on live scope. We just knew they were there.
You
So,
just went old school fishing.
well, with the exception of new school, like we still,
Well,
I still
technology,
threw a minnow, but I never saw the minnow. I was fishing it on the bottom, and that was the only way I could get a lot of those fish to bite. And then, but I did pick up a jig just for you. I caught our 4.5 on that one. So yeah, but we had like 19 pounds that day, and we were just missing the one big one. So
19 pounds and you missed a big one.
yeah, well, we had all good ones. First and second place in that tournament had like an 8 and a 9, and they had all little ones to go with it. So we were just missing that one 8 or 9 pounder. But
so what's next? Tawakoni?
Tawakoni, yeah, that's our next tournament.
That's an interesting lake too.
I've never been on it. I've heard great things about it, and I've heard a lot more terrible things about it. But we're just kind of just excited to go fish.
It's so close to Fork. You think it's got this same big. It is an interesting lake to fish. I've fished it as well.
I think it's got a lot of catfish and a lot of hybrids and a lot of other fish in there. So,
but there's some bass.
Yeah, and I've heard some great stories. I heard one of the dudes talk about the other day. He had a buddy catch 30 pounds out there not too long ago. So we know they're in there. We're just going to go have fun. Essentially, that's all you can do. So.
Well, so it leads right into faith and focus, right? You have a little bit of faith to fish and in life, right? We all have to try to walk by. So how does your faith guide your decisions on and off the water?
Yeah, so for me, I've always learned, and this has come with my faith, is be happy, be grateful to be there, on the water, but also off the water. Like you have the opportunities, especially fishing wise, to be able to fish all these lakes. Like, that you just have to be thankful for that at first. Just, one thing I do, and I was telling you about this earlier, one of my strategies when I get to the lake is I like to, even if we say a quick prayer at takeoff, before I even take a cast, I don't care who's trying to come. Like if I pull up on a spot and there's some boat trying to pull in front of me, I'll let them pull in front of me. I kill the motor and I sit there, bow my head, and I say a quick prayer. And because for me, that's the most important thing. Like just, be thankful for what you're out there to do. And I mean, it's just one of those deals where I really think that's an important step to, just be thankful for everything. If you had a bad day on the water, just shake everyone's hands, congratulate them, and kind of just be happy to be there. And that's all you can do.
I think I love that because fishing doesn't define us, right? I mean, it should be our identity in Christ, and what people see if you have a bad day or a good day is that grounding, that gratitude. That is a derivative of a loving, compassionate Christ. And so people look at you and say, hey, he's got a cross on there. And if you don't have that gratitude, whether you have a good day or a bad day, I mean, that means a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And people pick up on that. And
Mhm.
so I think pausing, having a prayer, being thankful,
Mhm.
and asking, for God to show himself sets the tone. And I can't imagine what it looks like if you're out there and it's already, prayer, you've launched and you're pulling in there and you're praying. People are like, what is he doing? It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's different. Maybe I'd like to learn more about that.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, that sounds like kind of the answer to the next question. What anchors you
Mhm.
in your during competition?
Mhm.
So you wake up in the morning, you have a prayer, and we do like they all probably do national anthem prayer.
Mhm.
You go, you find your quiet time, you're fishing,
Mhm.
and we've talked about good days and bad days.
Mhm.
Do you then try to pause if something's not going? How do you handle those adverse moments on the water?
So I think what you like, are you asking basically like if something goes wrong, how do I?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. If something goes wrong,
It's kind of
how
all
does
just,
Cooper handle it?
well, I can kind of relate this to a story last year, Lake of the Pines, and this one fish would have won me AOI last year for Texas Bass Nation, and I tried a boat flip an 8 pounder. I was fishing solo, and this was
Don't tell me you were using a spinning rod with 40-pound test.
no 25-pound test and a 7.6 extra heavy. And I was just I flipped a 5.5 up right before it, and that was kind of a change up. So I had a couple adversities that day. Pulled up to my spot, first one there. I was pumped. I just had last time I went there, I made one cast and I caught a 4 pounder because the week before I should have had 25 to 30 pounds off that spot. I jumped a 6 off. I had a couple on a rattle trap that I never moved, and it was 3 foot of water. I was like, these fish aren't moving. And sure enough, tournament day, they were gone. I fished for an hour and a half there. They were all gone. So I kind of thought about it. And I was like, well, I just got to go fishing, and ended up catching a 4. And then I picked up a flipping rod. And for anyone who knows me, especially college wise, I like to flip. I keep a rage bug in my hand and I just like to
Yep.
go fishing. Yes, sir. So I pull up, I catch 2, 3 14s, I think, off this one tree out in the middle of the lake. And kind of just I was like, oh, maybe they're spawning. And there's not much time left in the day. This is after grinding for a couple bites and pull up, catch a 5. I'm like, oh, there's some big ones up here. Keep flipping, and I saw this Charlton boat that went right through where I just fished, and I'm sitting there and dragging, boom, set the hook, and that fish comes out of the water, and I knew she was big. I didn't realize how big she was till I got her out of the water to go flip her. I have it all on video too, and yeah, that for me, I mean, I'll be honest, I may have said 1 or 2 things I shouldn't have, but it was kind of like a reset moment to where after I just retied, kind of took a couple deep breaths, and that's all you can do. I mean, if you think about it for the rest of the day, it's not gonna serve you any good. You're just gonna spin yourself out,
Yeah.
and um, then I was like, "Okay, sweet. Well, I'll go over here," and went over there. Then my motor wouldn't turn on. It was overheated because I sucked up too much silt trying to run around up shallow, and it was kind of just where it's like stuff kept happening, but all I could do was I just got to keep taking deep breaths and just keep fishing. I mean, that's all you can do, and ended up didn't do that bad in that tournament, but you know, that fish cost me about 2 grand in AOI that year. So it was definitely a little hurtful, but yeah, like if you're, you just kind of got to keep like, just take a deep breath, sit down. I've even had it. I think maybe after that fish, I may have even said a prayer, just, hey, thank you for letting me be out here.
Cool.
And a lot of the times it's just like, I don't pray to go catch big fish. I know we all want to, but that's not what your end goal. I mean, you want to pray to have a good day, but it's more just, hey, keep everyone else safe. Just that's all I care about. It's just, at the end of the day, when I show up to weigh in, I don't want to have to worry about my buddy being out there or something happening to someone. I want to be able to congratulate those who beat me and just kind of just try to be as in a positive attitude, even if you had a bad day. Just be there for your buddies. That's what it's all about.
And I know that about you, and I know that's true, and I love hearing that. And so we're gonna do a quick fire round.
Okay.
I'll ask you these questions. What's your favorite bait?
Rage bug.
Okay. Toughest lake you've ever fished?
Oh, See, that one's hard because I have a couple different lakes, but I'm just going to go with one whenever we fished in high school, and it was pretty low, Somerville.
Oh, Somerville.
When it's low, and I'm used to hill country lakes, and there is just, you go from, fishing docks and everything to just fishing sand.
Yeah.
That's a lot different.
Yeah. I hear you. What's one word you would describe Eli with?
Excellent. Just
Excellent.
easy enough. Like, he's just
Eli.
great, excellent dude all around, no matter what he does.
Buy this guy a sandwich next time you're fishing. What is the dream lake you would like to fish?
Ooh, dream lake I would like to fish. See, that one's difficult because there's a lot of,
it wasn't on the list, was it?
I would probably want to go up north somewhere. I don't know which lake, but I want to go smallmouth fishing.
Monster smallmouth.
Yeah, I just want to be out there and be able to go smallmouth fishing.
Okay.
So
I totally agree with you. I don't know what that would look like to go. And I fished up in Maryland and some of the rivers were chasing some of the red eye smallies, but I don't know what it'd be like to fish Champlain or something.
Now, if I could pick a time, I would go choke about 10, 15 years ago.
Falcon, years ago.
Falcon, yeah, because
you're melting worms together to get a big one.
Oh yeah, and it's just one of those deals to where it's, that was just because our lakes are high. So
yeah,
it may all change, but
we'll get there.
Oh yeah.
Well, Cooper, thanks, brother.
Yes, sir.
I'm so
Thank you for having me on there.
You made it in and, continued much success in your collegiate career. We're going to be watching them out there, just get following and let them know what you think. And also, if you like what we're doing, I know I say this all the time, but it's really important. If you like it, subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what other topics you'd like us to ask these phenomenal young anglers. It helps with the YouTube algorithm to get us exposed to more people. And so thank you for being an awesome leader. Again, Bass Club of Champions, A&M Fishing, a wonderful family. Mm-hmm. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you guys. We'll see you on the water. Thanks for watching this episode of Real Talk, where faith, family, and fishing come together. This episode was brought to you by Shimano USA, Quality Fishing Time.